Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Wasteland 3. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're supposed to join me today as we have a chat with Hope, most likely, and also with Sheriff Daisy.
Got any good news, Rangers? I sure could use some.
Yeah, we have some questions for you.
What's on your mind?
Tell us about the pillories.
That's good old-fashioned Colorado justice. We slap lawbreakers into the pillories, strip 'em down, and let the cold do its work. You can't go easy on traitors and criminals, not in a place like this. Not with the Wasteland right outside the walls. Only thing keeping us civilized is the law, and folks need to see what happens to people who break it.
Can you fill us in on the marshals?
Best damn outfit in the city. We're independent and tough as hell. Only person we answer to is the Patriarch. No offense to the 100 families, but they're not welcome in the marshals. My boys and girls are ordinary folks who had to struggle for what they've got. That's the way I like it.
I wonder if the 100 families are the ones in the pillories or the ordinary folks here that her boys and girls were a part of. Just wondering, what's your story?
Oh, I've been here a long time, Rangers. Started out as the Patriarch's bodyguard about 30 years ago, and he liked my style. Guess I was a cute young thing back then. After I helped him whoop the Plains gangs, he put me in charge of the marshals. Been doing the job ever since. Never gave him cause to complain. I keep things nice and peaceful around here.
Okay, let's talk about something else.
All right. What have you got for me?
I don't got...
Roger that.
That was good. That was good. So we have... Why do we have our yellow snowballs on equipped? What was I thinking in previous episodes? The woman gives you a crisp salute as you approach.
Thanks for talking to me, Rangers. And I'm grateful to Daisy for the introduction. I hope I can be of some use to you. I thought there might be a bit of a job interview first, but if you're ready for me, I'm ready to start.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, there's no need for an interview really, but, that's a good idea. Let's chat.
Certainly. What do you want to know?
I don't know why I pronounced chat like that. Chat. Let's chat. Whatever. My accent, you know how it is. You seem pretty excited to be a jailer. That's not usually a job people want.
No. And the people who do are usually sickos who get off on bossing around convicts and making them squirm, right? Well, that's not me. I promise you. I became a jailer after getting locked up myself when I was a kid and seeing the job done wrong. We expect the law to be fair, from arrest to trial to sentence, but too many people forget that incarceration is part of the process. A big part, and often the least fair.
You could say that's the biggest part because they spent a lot of time in incarceration. Also, do we expect the law to be fair? I mean, I guess I don't know, like, because this could be written for our own sensibilities as players rather than trying to depict any sort of like the normal perception of people here living in Colorado in the post-apocalypse. But I guess you could read into that as it indeed being a depiction of what people think of the law and what people expect the law to be like. Now we're still at the beginning of the Let's Play, so it's really hard to get any conclusions regarding at least how the patriarch rules and all that sort of stuff. But it's solely based on what the sheriff just said. I would think that there is at least if not a conscious intention to make the law seem fair, there's at least there is an effect of them trying to make the law seem fair. When she says that only normal people join the marshals, that might not be a conscious. It probably is a conscious decision, but it might not be a conscious decision to make the law seem fair and just more of the everyday person who gets to be judged by an everyday person, or at least, well, it's not necessarily judged, but the marshals gets to be to have their law enforced anyway by by an ordinary person. So there's at least a consequence of a little bit of that sort of shifting of perspectives. Because can you imagine if she had said the opposite of that? It's not necessarily a good test every time you want to try out a new idea for a spin, thinking of the opposite. What if it were the opposite? Because sometimes there's false equivalencies. But in this case, I think it isn't necessarily false equivalency. It is a nice thought experiment. Can you imagine if she had said, our marshals are exclusively 100 families people? And then you'd see this land as being basically ruled by the 100 families. And the prisoners are just, normal people. What she ends up doing is that she's basically, excusing the incarceration of the lawbreakers. Or not excusing, but rather sort of making it more palatable, at the very least. So I don't know. Maybe the expectation is indeed for the law to be fair in this setting. I mean, I'm saying this because it's not like, yes, it would be for our own sensitivities as players, but it's not necessarily the case that we expect a lot to be fair in a post-apocalyptic world. Just saying, especially when you're tyrant, or sorry, what is he called? Mayor or something, I don't know. He's called the Patriarch, and he carries a huge sledgehammer the size of an anvil.
People in jail are there to learn from their mistakes. In a bad jail, all they learn is to mistrust the law and fear their fellow man. I want to make your jail a good jail, where everyone is treated fairly, regardless of their crime, and everyone has a chance to improve themselves.
You know what? I didn't expect her to make what's the word? I didn't expect her to make a very compelling argument for moral incarceration, because that's probably the hardest thing to do, is making a compelling argument for incarceration in the first place. Her argument is as milquetoast as I would expect her to make. But anyway, I mean, I'm gonna need to have a jailer. We're not living in a utopia at all. It's the opposite. It's the dystopia. So yeah, we're just gonna have to roll with the punches here, and having. I don't know though. Like I'm trying to take her at her face value here. Do we think do we think that our incarceration system is going to be capable of restorative justice, or because that actually creates a conflict between two parts of the narrative. It's not a conflict really, but like, we can't expect a game of this kind. And generally, violence in video games sort of plays against any notions of justice as anything but retribution. It's what I'm saying is, it's complicated. Having the game show us that hope over here, it's kind of very fitting name, but it would be. I look forward to see the game try to make to make her live up to her name, basically, in a setting that basically has us already meting out justice by basically shooting people in the head, and we have been doing that since the beginning of the game. That's why I'm saying, like, there's a conflict of messaging, and in a story. Of course, obviously, this setting is made for a game, so there are limitations to taking the setting seriously. In real life, if we had been indeed meting out justice as we have by shooting them in the head like this, the consequences would be, well, they wouldn't be vastly, they would be different. There's, things are different. It's what I mean to say. This is not a setting for the nitty-gritties. Like, yeah, you don't want to be observing how your rangerness causes you PTSD in 3 days of just being out in the job and basically seeing all of your all of your friends die in huge explosions and all that sort of stuff, and about how you murdered people you didn't know, completely destroy them, took no prisoners, it's we need to take things. There's a certain level of cartoonishness in the narrative that needs to be there. How come you left Amity?
It's not there anymore. Scar collectors rolled through and took everybody they could catch for slaves. Then they burn the place to the ground. I led a caravan of survivors to Colorado Springs, and I've been here ever since.
How did you choose us over the Marshalls, or why?
I respect Daisy's determination to keep Colorado Springs safe, but I don't agree with her methods. They're too savage.
Savage how?
Take the pillories, for example. The marshals shackle prisoners into them for the smallest of crimes and leave them exposed to the cold for hours. They lose fingers and noses and ears to frostbite, if they survive at all. What does that accomplish? Other than cripple them and mark them as criminals for life. After that, how can they become good citizens? How are they to believe that the law is fair? It turns my stomach.
Yeah, that's why it's very complicated. Issues like this are so complicated, and obviously the game is taking a relatively superficial approach to criticizing it, which is fair enough. And it's what I was saying. Like, there needs to be. It. You can't think about this too deeply, because the narrative breaks down. In how can they become good citizens? That implies so many, like, this is complicated, because this implies minor crimes. Lawbreakers and traitors is how they were defined, and treachery, what's the noun for traitor? Betrayal. Well, being a traitor is what I mean to say, is usually seen as like the highest level of crime, and there are historical and pragmatic reasons why that is the case. We don't need to talk about that. But so we can ignore that. The lawbreakers here, we could think that maybe they're murderers. Maybe they are, I don't know, something that you would universally, as in everyone in your society, would see as a bad thing. What kind of crimes would those be? Because we need to engage, like, if we're going to think about how or who exactly is in those pillories. Well, actually, we saw one person. What was he there for? Oh, he sided with the that's the traitors bit. Okay, so the only person we saw in the pillories were specifically traitors. But for here to become good citizens, it implies that there is another level of criminality. And also, especially if this is going to be like a lesson that we can take to our own world and think that, prison shouldn't be cruel, which it shouldn't. And also, people shouldn't be left out to die for the frostbite and whatnot, which they obviously shouldn't. But the thing is, how do they become good citizens? It sort of implies that there's other crimes here that might not be as clear-cut as something as objective as cold-blooded murder. That everybody in society would say, no, please don't do that. What about self-defense murder? Probably everybody in society, well, not everybody in society, but a lot of people in society would say that self-defense murder, at least when it comes to them doing the self-defense, is probably not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe stealing. It's a lot of part of, like, probably the poor wouldn't mind so much if stealing wasn't a bad thing. And then you start thinking, why are they poor in the first place? Why is stealing a bad crime? And why is forcing other people to be poor not a bad crime? Why aren't, you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? Well, if you don't, it's fine. It's just a cartoon take. It's fine. I'm just sort of... Game, don't talk too much about this, otherwise you're gonna shatter reality, and I'm gonna have to start talking about how imprisonment is usually has to absolutely have to be understood in the whole context of the society that the imprisonment exists in, rather than just as an isolated sort of force of nature, really. Because if you don't think too deep about things, you start to think about certain stuff. That doesn't necessarily have to exist, especially when we're talking about made-up societies in post-apocalypse, like, for example, policing or money or prisons or sheriffs or any of that. None of that has to exist. But if you don't think too much about that, you just sort of like assume that it has to exist. So, yeah, it's all of that has to be understood in the context of the society that exists in. And this society is not being painted in a very nice picture, so it's not really about the methods, Hope. I mean, the methods as well, but it's probably that they are considered criminals in the first place that is the issue. Maybe not the traitors, though. I'm just gonna That's why I didn't want to talk about the traders, because it sort of muddies the issue a little bit. What do you know about the Rangers?
Daisy tells me you've been tireless fighters for justice in Arizona, settling disputes, breaking up gangs and militias, putting down a plague of robots, and that you're here in Colorado for the most noble of reasons, to save your people back home after a terrible disaster. I hope she wasn't blowing smoke, because she made you sound just like the sort of heroes I want to work for.
Breaking up gangs and militias. It's an interesting choice of words. It would have other implications if she had just said breaking up gangs. But she says militias, which, those implications sort of go away. But it does portray her as somebody who is pro-authority, rather. Gangs and militias, you'd think that they would be sort of like... You can consider them as sort of pockets of authority outside of the bigger authority in the region. So if the Rangers were the biggest authority in Arizona, which I think is the case, I'm not 100% sure, then the breaking up of those gangs and those militias would be necessarily basically you stomping your feet and being like, no, I am the boss over here. And that is basically what the Rangers do. Not all the time, though. I'm thinking specifically in Wasteland 2, I remember there was a gang that you really don't... There was one specific gang. I think there's a lot of them. I think there's like 3 of them, but maybe I'm wrong. There's one specific gang in the north area of Arizona that you don't have to break up. You can kill them if you want, because you can kill everybody in this game, and Wasteland 2 as well, or most people. No, I think you can kill everybody, yeah. But the point is, there was one gang that you just can go along, so you don't break those. It's just sort of, I think breaking up gangs and militias isn't really what the Rangers, in my game anyway, were there to do. They were there to, help people, which I think is a noble thing to do. Helping people. Ain't that nice? Thanks for the chat. You can head to our HQ now.
Thank you. I'll be there as soon as I make my goodbyes here. Looking forward to working with you.
Absolutely. You are, and I am as well. I want to see where that goes.
To see the city back to life, huh?
Yeah, people are shopping and building. Well, rebuilding. Almost like we were never attacked at all.
It's gonna take months to recruit enough new marshals to replace the ones we lost, though.
Yeah.
Even the examples that we have here. A drunk is in jail, not prison, because jail and prison is a different thing in the United States. Not all countries have that distinction, but yeah, or it's not quite like that. That drunk over there, do you think that one is one of the 100 families? Do you think he has a house to be drunk in?
Would you rather freeze to death or burn?
You're a barrel of monkeys, huh?
Come on, answer the question.
All right. Burn. You're gone faster, and free cremation so your family saves a few bucks on the funeral.
Drowned in chocolate pudding for me.
Okay.
She has the right of it, though. He doesn't. The burned... You can burn slowly. How do you know it's faster? You're just sort of like picturing a stereotype of the... oh, no, that's the machine shop. I don't need to go there right now. I want to go back to my HQ. You're just picturing the stereotype of burning to death. But you can freeze to death very, very fast.
Real funny cartoon in there. When Jeffy ripped the robo arm off that scar collector, I cracked up.
I was gonna ask about the articles, but never mind.
Was that about... I was talking over it, but I wondered if that was about the... what's the name of the thing? The museum. Speaking of museum, now that we're here, we have our own museum curator. The head of the Ranger HQ security, Sergei Greitsky, is a veteran of the Patriarch's most important battles. I wonder how surnames would work in a post-apocalyptic world. In a world like this, would they just assume... Would they drop their family ties and just go for more of a clan-based name, like...
Hello, Rangers? This is Gideon Reyes. I'm addressing you from Broadmoor Heights. The Patriarch has made it known that you are in need of logistical support. I can happily make a few calls, speak to a few people. In exchange, I'd like to ask that you hear me out on a proposition. not a thing I really do, this ransoming of aid. But these are unusual circumstances, and Colorado Springs' future hangs in the metaphorical balance. I wouldn't be asking for such an exchange if I wasn't desperate. I'll be at the church in Broadmoor Heights, and I'll tell the marshals to let you through. Come find me here.
Will do. And you say here, but we're not in Broadmoor Heights, are we? Let me mute the game there. No, we're not. We're back home. Good. Because we have a lot of people to talk to, as always. Which I actually am pretty fond of. There's a fox! That is... Why was there a fox here? That's just a normal red fox. It wasn't saying so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's friendly or not. Anyway, so in the map, I don't seriously, that fox was something.
Here
That
to
meant
serve.
what? Oh, Private Bednar. Excuse me.
Guessing it's gonna be tough getting that Valor kid out of Denver in one piece. But it's gotta be done.
I hear it is. Is that the first one? Yes, it is. It's the lowest level. We're not doing that right now. It's still very many levels away. But we're just gonna need to talk to... We got Private Duncan. Wait a minute. Who are you? Also, look at all the tools that we have. Yay for that.
That kid Victory sounds like a bad apple.
Oh, they're just talking about all the different kids that I need to take on. Okay, let's see what this is. We can, oh my god. We can customize our truck. I'm gonna lower the volume a little bit of the truck because it's a thing. So, it's got equipment and a chassis. The basic model, reasonably durable and okay for long distance travel if you're not in a big hurry. On any hurry, really. Impact damage plus 100. And we have a weapon, a shredder turret. Ever hear the phrase, mad enough to spit nails? This is what they were talking about. We don't have a mortar. We don't have armor plating. We have an AI module, right? Because this thing is self-driving. Full self-driving module. Allows you to control the Kodiak remotely during combat. Which means it's remote control. Rather, it's kind of funny. Don't ask too many questions. It allows me as a player, not as a character. And we got hood ornaments. And I have a wolf skull ornament. I'll go with that, because why not? It doesn't make many noises, but there it is. That's our truck. And it does a sound. Okay, well, moving on then. Trying to recall where... Oh, traps, okay. Trying to recall where everything was. Is this the... yeah, this was the morgue. And now it's got a beautiful carpet over there, I was going to say. You've unlocked the med bay. Here you can shop for medical supplies. You can also speak to the doctor to get free health care. Ah, that is the stuff right there. Wouldn't you like to have that? Or at least, anyway, I pay for it in my taxes, including restoring any incapacitated squad members with capital I. Hello. I was pressing shift when that pop-up happened, and you know what happens. Oh, Amber is still here. Okay, she was the one that couldn't be healed. And we got that door down there, which is an impossible lock. At least it doesn't say requires key. Because, well, no duh. That's how locks work. But I'm having a jab at the Elder Scrolls. Anyway, let's have a chat with the doctor.
Hey, Rangers. I'm here at last. It'll take a while. But I think I'll be able to make an actual surgery out of this place. Just need to call in a few favors for equipment and supplies. If you need treatment now, well, I think I'm ready for that. What do you need?
Treatment. I need treatment.
Of course, no sense in bleeding all over the place. Have a seat.
That's... Seat? He means, let's fade to black. What's your, how's that patient of yours going?
Fine. Everything is fine. For now.
Do you have any medical supplies you could sell us?
I brought a few things over from the garage. Not much yet, but...
Not much yet. So I'll sell you my junk and get a little bit of money. And there's a lot of medical supplies. Let me actually look, see what... So it's usable items. See if I have any of these things, because I haven't seen that. What is that? An antidote, a true lifesaver, but incorrect dosage can do more harm than good. It's... Why are you telling me that? What is that supposed to be? I don't have any. I can just eat my yellow snowball. Yeah, I'm not gonna need antidotes.
What do you need, Rangers?
Never mind.
I won't. I never do.
This woman's head is wrapped in bandages. Her breathing is shallow but steady. And that, I believe... Ooh, we got Anna. We know her name? Wait a minute. No, Anna is ours. Right, it's Amber. Of course we know her name. I said it before, but I was looking at the wrong one. It does show up in the minimap, though. Or on the minimap. Private Jody Bell.
Still not feeling great after everything at the lake. Hope you don't mind if I take a little more time.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Later.
Later, indeed. So she's just gonna stay there for a little while. Okay. That's fair enough. She's the...
I'm Austin. I'm new.
Hey, Austin.
Aboard. Where are you from?
Oh, around.
Yeah, me too. We all are here.
That sounded sarcastic as hell. Oh boy. That is the Jody over there is the private that we saved right at the beginning of the game. If you have forgotten, and if you haven't, well, try not to forget until next episode, because we're out of time for the day. So for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Wasteland 3. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and leave a comment. Like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.